For the longest time, I heard that you can't make money with horses. If you do horse training or you teach lessons or do a boarding stable, the fact of the matter is, usually you're not gonna make a profit. So over time, I've tested out a few unconventional ways with how you can make money with horses, and I've also done a lot of research because people are constantly asking me about this. And so in today's video, I wanted to share the most surefire and profitable ways you can make money with horses. So thanks to modern culture and new technology, it opens the door to a lot of things that people a few years ago couldn't do. And so a few of these are centered around that. My first way that you can make money with horses is by making customized horse products. So this could look like a number of things. You could do horsehair bracelets for people. You could do artwork and paintings. I've seen someone make they've taken an old saddle and they make a purse from it. You can do painted or customized halters for people. Horse people love that stuff for their horses and they'll definitely spend money on it. So for example, we have an Etsy store, and what we do is we make more so funny horse t-shirts or just shirts centered around horses. And the store is relatively new and we don't dedicate that much time to it as I would like. So we make probably about $500 to $1,500 a month from the Etsy store, and it really just depends on the month. And so that's kind of an idea of what you can make with the customized horse products. You could probably make way more if you just put more time and energy into it. And so really the only skills you need for this is you need to be crafty. You need to be able to research and figure things out. Like if you're doing Etsy, you could do print on demand. So you just need to do that. You also need to learn some marketing skills. Like what I've seen is if you join Facebook groups and you can post your products into the Facebook group for horses, people will be all over that. You can also do Etsy or Amazon and post the customized products and people will find you and want to buy them. So you just need to research kind of what goes into that. But I think you can make a lot of money doing that, probably a full-time living if you're willing to put in the time. The next way you can make money with horses is through social media influencing, which is so weird to say because who would have ever thought? But that is actually something that Equine Helper itself has been doing for a few years now. The great thing about social media influencing is that there is definitely a formula you can follow to start making money through social media and ads on YouTube and affiliate marketing and things like that. The downside is everyone wants to be an influencer. Everyone's willing to initially try to be an influencer. The fact of the matter is they don't put in the time and they're not in it for the long run. If you want to become a social media influencer, you really need to be willing to dedicate 1 to 2 years without really seeing a return. For example, the first year we were on YouTube, we went from 0 to 300 subscribers. The second year we were on YouTube, we went from 300 to 50,000 subscribers, and that's when we got monetized and everything like that. So if we would have quit in year 1, we wouldn't have seen the benefits of year 2. So that is a lot of what social media influencing is you just need to post consistent and you need to be consistent even when you don't see any reward initially. But the fact of the matter is if you're willing to put in the time, the earnings that you can make from being a social media influencer are exponential because there's so many ways you can diversify your brand and you can use your brand to push to your affiliate marketing or your own products or an online course or something. And the fact of the matter is you don't have to be a professional horse trainer or a top-level show jumper to be a social media influencer. You can really just take people where you're at and take them on the journey with you, and that's what most people want. Like if you have the passion and you're willing to share that passion with other people, they will latch onto it. And so you just need to think of it from that standpoint, is like you're more so taking people along on your journey rather than trying to be something you're not. Now, if you want to get into social media influencing, there's one major aspect you need to learn about. I mean, there's quite a few, but the main one that's going to make a difference is you need to learn about search engine optimization, which is SEO. The good thing is Colin and I, before we had Equine Helper, we actually worked in marketing, so we knew a lot about SEO just from that. And basically what SEO is you're learning how to rank in the top searches. So you're learning how to rank on Google or rank on YouTube or even rank on social media. And so that is going to greatly help you in developing your brand to where you can start earning money. And just some other things you're gonna wanna learn. You're gonna wanna learn video editing, of course. You're gonna wanna learn aspects of how to capture people's attention and hold their attention. You're gonna wanna learn some administration, because once you do have brands coming to you or you do have deals in affiliate marketing and taxes, you're gonna have to pay taxes as a business owner. You have to be able to balance all of that and juggle it. So all of those things I would recommend learning as you work on your brand to becoming a social media influencer. If you consider yourself a creative person, another avenue that you can make money with horses is through equine photography. So a lot of times shows will hire photographers to take pictures, or even just a normal horse person would hire you to do like a portrait photography with their horse and themselves. And so this is something that is definitely up and coming. And the great news is you can always diversify and branch into doing like family portraits or pet portraits in general. So it doesn't have to be centered around horses. It can kind of be more broad. Photography is something that is relatively simple to get into. You really just have to go and watch some YouTube videos about how to use your camera and how to change the settings, and then also how to edit pictures. You are gonna have to invest in a camera, so anywhere from $500 to $1,500 and a good entry-level camera to get you started. And then of course you're gonna have to purchase lenses and things like that. But the fact of the matter is, if you do it right, you should be able to pay off that camera relatively quickly. The way to get started with equine photography is just to offer to take pictures for free. And I mean, you don't have to start with horses. You can take pictures of anyone, like your brother or your sister, or your best friend, and then you can add horses into the mix. When it comes specifically to equine photography, you're gonna wanna research how to get the horse's attention. And so there are methods you can use to get them to perk their ears and to look photogenic compared to, you know, Tucker always just stands there with his ears like this and his eyes half closed, and he's not photogenic. I know for like a normal photography session, usually people may charge like $100 for 1 hour, and then you get like 30 to 50 edited pictures or things like that. And so if you book a few sessions a day or a week, you can make pretty good money. See, I'm not the photographer or videographer of Equine Helper. That is actually Colin, who is behind the camera. And he has a lot of experience with videography. He has done it professionally for a few years. And so we will link our camera in the description of this video just so you can see the products we use and if you're looking for a good camera. The next way you can make money with horses is through farm sitting. If you own horses and have your own land, you know it can be super stressful to go on vacation and find someone to watch your animals. So if you can get into farm sitting, number one, you're meeting a need that people have. And number two, there really is kind of like a shortage of people who want to do this and who are reliable. So if you have horse experience and you're willing to stay at someone's house and you're reliable and things like that. I did this for a few years in my early 20s and I did pretty good. Sometimes I would do 2 farms a week with house sitting, and sometimes I'd be at one farm and farm sitting and I have to stay there, but then with the other farm I could just go throughout the day and check on the animals. So I was able to rake in quite a few jobs and I was making pretty good money. And so you just want to research kind of like what your area is and how to charge. So I know some people charge like per animal, so it may be like $15 a day per horse or $20 per day per horse, and then it can range from like $15 to $40 just depending where you are per animal. And so you'll want to research those factors because number one, it needs to be reasonable enough for people to pay for it, but number two, you are specialized in farm sitting and watching these types of animals, and so you do want to make sure it's worth your time. The easiest way to really get into this is to just communicate it to your horse community. So for me, the reason it was so easy for me to get into it is because I was already very plugged in to the local horse community that I was a part of. And so when I just posted on social media like, hey, I'm willing to farm sit this summer. And then all my horse friends started contacting me and they wanted me to watch their house. So the fact of the matter is you kind of do need to know the community around you. And if I were you, what I would do is I would start joining some horse clubs or maybe volunteering at some horse rescues. It's just a great way to meet people and surround yourself with people who may need your services. Another thing you're gonna wanna do is create a Facebook page for your business where it's specifically just about the services you offer and people can reach out to you that way to find you. It's a lot easier for people to find a page and see that information set up as like a business page on Facebook rather than a personal page on Facebook where you may have certain settings as private and things like that. And so I would recommend setting up that page, and that way people can like share it and follow it and things like that. Another way you can make money with horses is by providing grooming services. So this will look like clipping horses, plaiting their manes for shows, pulling their manes, all of those different aspects. While this may be more seasonal work, like going into the winter months or coming out of winter into the spring and summer show season, these are great services you can do. And the fact of the matter is, if you are located near like a giant horse center or showground where there's a lot of equine activity throughout the week, you can go on the weekend, offer your services, work all through the weekend, and you can probably make what you would make in a week in just that weekend. And so that's something to consider. I know with full body clips in my area, I usually see them for around $125 to maybe $150. For mane pulling, I think it's like $40 to $50. And for plating, I would say it's probably about the same. What I would recommend is making yourself a business card to where if you go to the showgrounds or go to the horse center, you can hand out that card and tell people about your services. You could even make like a brochure that has the services you provide listed and the price that you charge for them. And that way people know exactly what they're getting, but it's also getting you in front of people. And like I said about the last point is go and create a Facebook page with your prices and everything like that. Share it out to the community so people can go and like and follow. When you start this, you want to make sure you have practice before you go charging people. Because the fact of the matter is, I always think I can like do a nice clip on my horse. It always ends up looking awful. And so if you're one of those people like me where you think you can do anything and then you do it and you realize, okay, maybe this is a little harder than I thought, you're gonna wanna practice before you start charging people. So the way you can do this, practice on your own horse, offer to practice on your horse's friends for free, and go from there. A very popular up-and-coming job is equine massage therapy. I am a certified equine massage therapist, so I have actually done this work. I had my own business for a while and I was providing services to the local horse community here. And what I can say is it is a very profitable job to get into. It does require a little bit of training where you're gonna wanna find a certification class or a seminar or something where you can go and get your certification. I have a lot of people ask how I got my certification. I did a course called Equestrian and I did a correspondence course, and then I have always kind of just like researched on my own too and researched different methods and kind of incorporated it into the massage itself. One thing you are going to want to do is research your state laws around it, just because each state is different. Like in Virginia here, it's very lax, very chill. Anyone could really do it. You probably don't even need a certification. But when we lived in Oklahoma, for example, it was just a little bit more strict and you had to have like a reference from a vet and things like that. Depending where you are, you can charge anywhere from $75 to $150 per horse for a full body massage. The massage usually takes anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, I would say, just depending on the horse and their condition and things like that. And then a lot of times you can get reoccurring clients and you can communicate like, okay, maybe this horse would do best if they were seen once a month or something like that. You want to make sure you plan all of that out before you start marketing yourself. The great thing is a lot of courses will have marketing training. For me, once again, the best thing that helped me in getting my foot out there was I was really plugged into the horse community. I was in a fox hunting club. I had done volunteer work at some other horse places. And then I've just known a ton of people through horseback riding just because I grew up in the area. And so if you really want to get your foot in the door with equine massage, I would recommend getting plugged in. The biggest downside to equine massage is that it can be really hard on your body. You're using your hands a lot and your fingers. And so like my hands would get cramped up after just doing like 1 or 2 massages a day. So that's kind of why I stopped doing it. But I probably just needed to work out more or something. Like if you're willing to put in the effort and do it regularly, I'm sure you build up that resistance. And if you're young and starting out, like I think this is a great way to kind of get yourself into the horse world and learning about the horse community and go from there. Another job that's similar to equine massage is equine chiropractic work. And this is where you are adjusting the horse's body and skeletal system. The thing about chiropractic is, I believe by law, you are required to either be a practicing human doctor or a veterinarian and then get your chiropractic certification. And so there's a lot more training and education that goes into that. Like you can't just become a chiropractor. Like you need to go to school and work as a doctor and get your chiropractic certification. All that said, I know a lot of equine veterinarians who have ended up leaving that field to become chiropractors because there's just so much money in it. Unfortunately, a lot of people think because equine veterinarians are vets and they're doctors, they make a lot of money. In reality, they really don't. And so if that's something you are interested in going into, you should definitely be aware of that and research it. I know for me, when I had the chiropractor come out and adjust my horses, and I've had a few different chiropractors, just depending on where I've lived, it was usually from $100 to $150. And then the session usually lasted from 15 to 30 minutes. So if they're doing multiple horses in an hour, an equine chiropractor can make good money. And in this day and age, a lot of people are preferring more natural approaches to medicine, like chiropractic work. Chiropractors stay busy. They really do, and it's a great field to get into if you're willing to go through all that school. Another great field to get into if you want to work with horses is to become a farrier. So a farrier is someone who works on the horse's feet. They can trim horse feet, they can put shoes on the horse's feet. And so if you are going to be a farrier, you're going to work with a lot of different horses. The training to become a farrier is a bit varied because there's not a whole lot of regulation on it. I know people who have gone to school and trained professionally as a farrier, and they are very good farriers. Then I've also known people who have just apprenticed with a local farrier and learned the skill and the trade, and then they just go out and do more basic farrier work. There's a different number of ways you can get into it. You can even learn how to become a farrier just by watching YouTube videos. I don't recommend that, but you can learn how to trim a horse's feet through YouTube. Even though I don't think you should do that, it's out there. And so there's a whole bunch of different ways to learn about horses' feet and how to take care of them. If you want to know the price points, I know that a hoof trim can cost anywhere from like $35 to $60. A trim usually takes the farrier probably 10 to 15 minutes. And then if you want like a full set of shoes on a horse, it's usually from like $100 to $150, even maybe $200, just depending where you are. To me, that probably takes like 45 minutes to an hour. If the farrier can fit in quite a few horses within the hour, they can make good money within that hour. And I know most farriers get scheduled to where it's back to back to back to back to back throughout the day. And they are really in demand. Like, good farriers are in demand. Another thing I noticed is that most farriers don't do a whole lot of marketing. It all comes from word of mouth. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're a good farrier, the person you work for will tell someone else. Because good farriers are such in short supply that when you find a good one, you want to tell everyone. That should be reason to want to become a good farrier and get good training. The downside to being a farrier is that number one, it's really hard on your body. So for example, my farrier just started teaching me how to trim my own horse's feet. It is hard work. Like after each trim, I have to go lay down on my bed for like an hour and just recoup. The second thing is you're dealing with a whole bunch of different horses, which can be a good and a bad thing. Some horses are jerks when it comes to getting their feet done. Inevitably, you're gonna find a horse that wants to kick you or bite you or, run away. And so that's all stuff to take into account. Like, you're gonna be dealing with horses that you probably wouldn't want to deal with. And the good thing is, if you're a good farrier, you can charge higher to deal with them, or you just don't have to deal with them in general. A way you can make really passive money with horses is through offering stud services. So if you have a stallion, and especially if you have a stallion that's registered and of a good background, you can make a lot of money for stud services. The reason you can make so much money off of stud services rather than like full-on breeding and having mares is because a mare can only have one baby usually, and they're pregnant for a long time. And so you're not gonna get as much traction off of that and make as much money. With a stallion can be offering services every day, all day, 10 times a day. And so that is how you can make so much money with a stallion. If you have the facilities, you can offer live cover, which is where the mare comes to your farm and things happen naturally, or you can offer artificial insemination, and this is where I believe the money is, to where you collect the goods and send them out. And so you can have like 10 people across the country wanting to breed their mare with your horse. You send out the stuff, you make all that money. And so that is how you are able to make so much money with stud services. Stud services vary widely in terms of price range. You can make, on average, I'm gonna say $500 to maybe like $2,000 per cover or per artificial insemination sent out. And so if you're sending out multiple ones a week, man, you're making bank. If you have a really nice horse that is really well bred, has a good pedigree, and everyone wants, you can charge more than $2,000 per cover To market stud services, you can add your horse to like a horse sale registry online where you just put in the stud fee, put in the specs about your horse and things like that. You can also create a website and a Facebook page that shares information about your horse, shares deals throughout the year, like maybe on a holiday you offer 50% off or something like that. And that is really the biggest way you get information out. So for all of these businesses that I've mentioned, the one thing I would recommend you do is learn how to make videos and use a camera, just because it's a vital piece to marketing. And so once again, the cameras that we use are linked in the description. And another thing is, like I mentioned, Colin and I have years of experience in marketing outside of horses. And so we've thought about doing a marketing class specifically to people interested in horse business and learning how to market their business. So if that is something you'd like to see, comment down below. And if we do ever make that course, we'll be sure to link it in the description as well.